So, and for you guys who wandered in late, we're going to be setting our first long field trip date again at 9:30 when Dr. Pavlis comes in. Figured that way we have everybody together and we can sit down and try one more time to come up with a week that most of you can make it. So, with conglomerates, there's a lot more description you can do. And the first thing you look at is what is the material that makes conglomerates? There are different kinds of conglomerates. There's some that come from that mountain over there. And there, it's a tertiary rock, but it's made of Ordovician limestones and Permian granite are making the clasts in your conglomerate. And that would be an extra formational conglomerate. Or you have a set of muds and limestones, and you have a river come through the middle of your beds of mudstone and limestone. And in that channel, you erode out, maybe they're little lake limestones and muds, and you break up chips of the material that's being deposited right in there in the same formation. And those are called intraformational conglomerates. So if it's made from the stuff right around where you're being deposited, it's intraformational and extraformational. And there's some special names for these. Rip-up classed conglomerates are usually made of chunks of carbonate or clay that are ripped up from the ground. You can have mud chip conglomerate made of little chips of mud that's being eroded from the banks or the bottom of a stream. Any other names you can come up with, Kyle? In carbonates you have, well, they even have a special kind of carbonate that's named from this because it's fairly common in carbonate rocks. They call them intraclasts. Any other special names I've forgotten?
I think
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing is, okay, is it an intraclassed conglomerate or is it an extraclassed conglomerate? Second is it matrix supported or class supported? And your book has some fancy terms for this. We'll just say, and that it uses something like I forget what it called them. There was orthoconglomerate, paraconglomerate, and then the matrix supported would get something else again. We're just going to say matrix supported and class supported. It's easier to remember, and that's what people who are describing the rocks actually use. Nobody writing journal articles or books in the field actually use those terms in your textbook. So, did you learn, Kyle, paraconglomerate and orthoconglomerate?
No.
Good. Makes me feel better. Anyway, so class-supported conglomerates are conglomerates where the grains actually touch it. There's another term you'll see, it's called a framework-supported conglomerate. And it just basically means that the grains, the framework of the rock is what holds everything together. Matrix-supported are where you have grains just kind of floating in mud or sand. So they're floating in the matrix.
Don't you actually identify them by the class start touching one another and then in it, and whereas in matrix they don't, and that is the difference between matrix supported and class supported?
Yes. And yeah. And then finally, you classify it by the composition and the angularity of it. So, and by angularity, we have two big terms. They're angular fragments, we call it a breccia, and rounded fragments, we call it a conglomerate. And so, and then the composition is what the classes are. So if you have a rock made entirely of volcanic clasts, it would be, and it's angular, it would be a volcanic clast breccia. if you have one that's made of chert pebbles, it would be a chert pebble conglomerate. It's easy stuff, right? You have, if you have a lot of different rock fragments, we call that polymicte. So you can have, and this is a term you'll see in the literature, where if you have volcanic rock fragments and quartzite and granite and chert and limestone clasts all mixed together, you would say, I have a polymicte conglomerate. Lots of different material in that, lots of different kinds of clasts in it. And so for an example, a boulder classed conglomerate, a polymicte boulder classed conglomerate would be a decent example. Questions? Polymicte means different compositions of clasts in the breccia or conglomerate, not just one or two things. And that means, and basically it means there are lots of different materials contributing to your conglomerate. And then finally, we add in the grain size. And I've already been doing that, but here's, so a boulder volcanic clast conglomerate, a pebble chert clast conglomerate, or if it's angular, a pebble chert clast breccia. Matrix supported polymicte breccia. And that's how you describe conglomerates. So, questions?
If you leave out the support, the type of support, is it just assumed it's
It's assumed it's matrix. We usually don't say it's a class supported conglomerate. Yeah, if you leave out the term matrix supported, you're sort of implying it's class supported. And that's why I've left it out there. You could add it in, a class supported, but you don't need to add it in. Okay. Any other questions? There are